The Sony ZV E10 camera. I am so excited to record this video. I've had quite a lot of people over on my TikTok ask me what my first impressions are of this camera. So I bought the camera on September 21st, which is almost a month ago now, which is kind of crazy to think about that I've had it for that long. But I've recorded quite a bit with it now. I've created a vlog from Cambridge, Oxford, Lincoln, York. I've also created a couple of TikTok videos, like shorts with the camera using it vertically. So basically I just want to give you the rundown of what my thoughts are. I'm not going to bore you any longer because I hate long intros. We're going to get straight into it. Right, the first thing that I want to talk about is the body of the camera, so the camera itself. One thing I really like about it is the grip on it. It has a pretty sturdy grip compared to like other vlog cameras that I've seen. So that was kind of one of the sellers for me. However, once I started using it, I realized that it's not that big of a deal for me because I always have long nails. So even if I wanted to use the grip, it's not always the best idea because I can't really get in there. So I invested in a little tripod off of Amazon. It was fairly cheap. It's just the Manfrotto tripod. I've seen these in store and they can be quite expensive, but I don't remember being expensive on Amazon, probably like £15 if I remember correctly. But yeah, it has been a game changer for recording, especially when I'm vlogging because it lets me like hold on to it quite well. And my husband really likes using it as well for his camera. He's got a Canon camera, so it's quite versatile and it like moves like forward and back. So I recommend getting that if you've got long nails like me. The next thing that I really like is the detachable lens that it has. Now I haven't really tested this one out because I've been just recording with the kit lens that it comes with, but in the future I do plan on investing in a better lens, probably one that's more wide zoom so that when I'm recording, when I'm vlogging, walking about, it's not so close up in my face. But I will say this lens itself is pretty good. The only thing is, like I said, it's a little bit closer than I would like it to be when I'm vlogging, but there's a way around that and I'll talk about it a little bit later. It's got a flip screen feature, which is great. It flips out horizontally, not like vertically up. I kind of like it that it's horizontally. I've seen a couple of the cameras when we went into Curry's and I tested out like ones with the flip screen that goes up. But to be honest, I kind of prefer the one that's on the side. That's probably just personal preference. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about the buttons on the camera. Now there's probably a much better word than buttons, but basically just how you control the camera, and you know what I mean by buttons. So the first one is the start stop button. Very easy, very simple. It's just on the top. You slide it left and right. You can't go wrong with that. You can zoom in and out two different ways. You can use the lens itself, or you can also use the button that you record pictures with. There's a little bit of like a zoom feature on it, which makes it also very handy when you're out and about recording. Instead of having to move your hand and reach for the lens, you can literally just hold your camera and do the zooming that way. Now, one of my favorite buttons on this camera is the C1 button, which is a focus defocus button. And I'll show you what I mean by this, but basically I have it turned on right now and the background behind me is a little bit blurred. I don't know if you can really tell because there's not much going on behind me, but basically I'm in focus and my background is blurred, whereas when I turn it off, everything becomes in focus and it's a clear image. I'm gonna turn it back on. I definitely love this for like sit down videos. I've noticed that when I'm out and recording and I've got this feature on, I think the camera just trips out a lot and it's like figuring out what's in focus and what's out of focus. It's okay if you're recording with a more stabilized hand and you're not like wobbling too much and it looks nice in that way, but if you're vlogging and like you're moving around a lot, I wouldn't recommend really having that on. A very popular feature of this camera is the product showcase, and it's a feature basically where you hold something up to the camera. I've turned it off by the looks of it. Let me turn it back on. Right, I've turned the feature back on. Basically, when you show something to the screen, it'll automatically focus on that item itself and then back onto your face. This is quite interesting because when I tested out other vlogging cameras, they didn't have this feature and I noticed it right away, and this was pretty much one of the sellers for me. However, if you are vlogging with this camera and you're out and about and you've got this feature on, I definitely think that it trips out the camera as well, because when I first started vlogging with the camera, I had this feature on all the time because I loved it so much. But then when I looked back at the footage, I was like, why is my camera zooming in and out all the time? Like it was like glitching almost. And then I realized it might have something to do with the focus features that I have on, whether it's the defocus, and then I was like, it might be the product showcase, because I don't know if the camera gets confused sometimes, like when you're showing something, where to like put the focus on. So I've turned it off when I vlog now, but when you're doing a sit down video, I think this would be a very good feature, especially if you're recording like makeup content or you're doing a product review, to have it on because it's pretty good. There's also a button with the letters FN on it, which I have randomly discovered, but basically when you click on it, it gives you a little mini menu on the bottom of your screen so you can quickly turn things on and off. For example, the product showcase, the blur feature on your face, the focus area, and things like that. You can do it pretty quickly with that feature instead of having to go into the menu itself and go through all of the items that are on that, which can take quite a while. So I'm happy I found that out and I really like it. And last but not least, for the buttons, I'm going to talk about the stabilizer feature, which I briefly hinted to in the beginning when I mentioned the lens and how you can get around the wide angle lens without having to actually change your lens. And this was the one thing that was a game changer. Basically, when you have the stabilizer feature on this camera, it crops the image so incredibly much. Let me show you. This is me without the stabilizer feature on because I've got my camera propped up on a tripod. I don't need the stabilizer feature on. And this is it with the stabilizer feature on. I have not moved the camera. It has literally just cropped me in that much, which I really disliked. And when I started vlogging, I was like, what is wrong with my camera? Why am I so close to the lens? My arm is like fully stretched out. Like there's definitely gotta be something wrong. And then I randomly saw a video that had mentioned something about the stabilizer feature cropping your image. And I was like, could that be the reason why I'm so zoomed in? And it was. So yeah, if this feature is automatically turned on when you buy the camera, just turn it off, you'll be fine for the time being. The primary reason why I want to invest in a wide angle lens is because when I'm vlogging and I've got my arms stretched out, I feel like it wobbles a lot more and it creates the video a little bit more shaky, which I don't really like. It drops the quality of my videos quite drastically, and I would prefer for my videos to be more stable, but I don't want to put the stabilizer feature on because obviously you saw what it does. So in the future, I'll probably invest in a stabilizer. For the time being, I'm just going to try to be as stable as I can when I hold a camera. Oh, I forgot to mention, I think I briefly touched on it earlier, but it has the blur feature for the face, so you can turn it on. You can keep it off, you can have it on middle, you can have it on high, on low as well, or just completely off, like I said. And this is quite nice when you don't really have a lot of makeup, and I leave it either on low or mid just because it gives me a little bit of softness, and I don't know, I just like the way that it looks sometimes when I look back on the videos, but you can have it completely off as well. Right, and to wrap up the video, I'm going to talk a little bit about the quality of the camera. Now, I will say that this camera is probably best for recording and for vlogging. It's the reason why I bought the camera. The pictures turn out okay. I did take quite a few pictures with it when I went out to Durham, and I honestly probably could have gotten better pictures if I knew how to play around with some of the settings, but I'm not that good with cameras, so I just took pictures with the settings that it was on, and to be honest, they were okay. I edited them, and you can play around with the colors and so on and so forth, and you can get some pretty good pictures. However, the video, you cannot compare it. When I tested out other vlogging cameras, they just could not compare to this one. Just from the second you turn the camera on, you could tell the difference compared to other cameras. And lastly, the battery life on the camera, it's okay. I mean, I recorded all of Oxford and all of Cambridge on full charge, so I left the hotels on full charge, and they pretty much lasted me all day till we got back into the hotel room, like in the evening. But I did turn off the camera after every single video that I took just so that I can save on battery. But let's be honest, if you're out and about recording and you're taking pretty long videos or even just short clips but pretty often, the battery just dies out. Yeah, it's not the best. I'm at 4% right now, but I've been recording quite a lot today, and it wasn't even on full charge then. I think it was on probably like 80%. So I'm pretty happy with it, with how much it lasts. Probably about like 2 hours, 3 hours maybe. I've heard other people say 2 hours, so I'll probably agree with them. But yeah, it does the job for as long as you need it to. Anyways, that is everything for my first impressions of this camera so far. If I've forgotten anything, I might drop it in the description below. But other than that, ask me any questions if you have any, or just let me know what other videos you'd like me to do talking about the camera. I hope you guys have a lovely rest of your day, and thank you so much for stopping by.